Hey guys, welcome back to Inside the Oval. This is going to be part 2 of our episodes with Paul Merca. I'm not going to dilly-dally around. We're just going to get right on into it. Let's hit it.
Curious, do you have any thoughts of what other questions we can ask this guru here?
Well, so
what are you curious about?
On how hard is it to get a media accreditation to these big meets? Because I imagine it's got to be quite hard.
Well, I mean, it's, I've kind of built up a relationship with the folks at World Athletics over the years. I started going, my first World Championship was in 1991. I got credentialed through a magazine that no longer exists, Northwest Runner magazine. Okay. And I went to Tokyo to cover Rick Noji, who is he's the University of Washington school record holder in the high jump. He's 5'8", and he cleared 7'6" at the UW. His PR 7'7". Yeah. He's number 2 or number 3 on the all-time height overhead list behind Stefan Holm.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's definitely just behind him.
And also a fellow alumni of Franklin High School, right?
That's right. Yeah. I'd actually worked with Rick in the early 80s while he was going to Franklin, and I just graduated from UW because one of his best friends lived up the street from me, and it was like, and my younger brother Roy, he just play football on the street, like 2-on-2 football.
Yeah, that's how Seattle tradition. Rick Noji, really cool, really nice guy, great guy. Also the state record holder for high jump, right? For Washington at 7'4".
Yep.
Yeah.
7'4" and a half, and
225.
225
in high school.
Up until
in high school.
Up
at
until
5'8".
Man, that little man could jump.
Yeah, my dad used to say, man, that guy's bones must be like bird bones or something. Like he's like,
they're just a little hollow.
Just a little hollow.
In high school, he was like 120 pounds.
That tends to help.
And it's like,
flap the arms a little bit.
There's a YouTube. He's, if you look him up on YouTube, he's on there.
He's wicked fast. I think he's also on the top 10 for UW indoor for the 200 meters, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like you'd have to be to jump that high, that small.
He can move.
Speaking of move, if you look it up in the 1980, I believe it's a late January 1988 edition of Sports Illustrated, he made the inside front cover, the table of contents. He was in a 60-meter race in Vancouver against Ben Johnson.
No.
Yeah, he is against Ben Johnson.
What?
Yep.
Okay, so this is cool. So the popularity obviously showing like track and field. Ben Johnson at the time, the man to beat, right?
Yep.
How did they choose Rick Noji? Was this a cross-event competition? See who could be fastest?
No.
They just needed someone.
No, Rick was fast over 60 meters still.
Rick
he could run fast. Like 6'6", I think, or something.
And it's like people forget Rick was, during his time at the UW, he ran leadoff for the Huskies on the 4x1.
So he didn't look like a typical high jumper.
This is different. They built him different back in the day, right?
I mean, it's like who's in that race? Ben Johnson won. It's like let's see who was in that race. Thomas Jefferson, who was the Olympic bronze medalist in the 200 in 1984. He was training here in Seattle with Orrin Richburg.
Okay.
When Orrin was the women's coach, at the UW. Orange Son Julio was in the race.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Calvin Smith, I believe, was in that race, and Calvin Smith at one time held the world record in the 100, and he was in that race.
Wow.
Yeah,
That must have been the funniest looking lineup of all time.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
And I think Rick.
What is this race?
Rick can attest to this. Last month we had a University of Washington track and field alumni gathering, and he was telling the story about that race. The race got recalled because they said that he and Thomas Jefferson false started.
What?
And they had beaten Ben Johnson out of the blocks.
Yes. I bet they did. I bet there was Ben Johnson's insurance guy. No, it was a false start. No, false start.
Yeah, call it now.
Call it out.
Was that before the electronic pads? Probably.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
electronic pads.
What is that?
That's just
and
four
we all
different
know
sets
what
of eyes.
happened to Ben Johnson.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Months later, but it's there's a picture of it in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I posted that on the UW Track and Field Alumni Facebook page.
Yeah.
So it resides.
God, it's so cool. That's actually a very cool segue too. I feel like there's so much with Ben Johnson, and my dad has talked about Ben Johnson, and he talked about Ben Johnson, watched him live at 88, and watched him just go and slowing down like we see with all these world records in the hundreds. Talk to us about Ben Johnson in that era, and then when the facts came out, and someone a little bit more in the common day right now, such as Justin Gatlin, when that news comes out. How are those two situations similar? How have they been portrayed differently by the media?
That's a real tough question because I'll be honest with you, I never kind of stayed away from it. But what I've heard was second or third hand information.
Okay. So once again, this is not from the horse's mouth. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So
gotta get that back straight.
I'll say that first.
Yeah.
First and foremost, this was never told to me straight from any
sources.
It's a person I know who knows a friend who knows another friend.
Yeah, basically. But
please don't sue us.
There was, you had suspicions on who was on it and who wasn't.
Okay.
Now, proving it is a whole another matter.
Whole other matter.
Yeah. So I would never go out and say this guy's on it.
Yeah.
This guy's on it.
Was it kind of the same back then, where if you had a little bit deeper pockets, you could kind of get away with a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because I feel like nowadays, if you have a little bit deeper pockets, you can kind of get away with some stuff, like the Christian Coleman case that came out. He even said, he's like, it's a good thing I have the funds to be able to hire blah, 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 because then if it was somebody like me or you, we would have been steamrolled.
Yeah. I mean, you suppose, I don't know, well, I can't remember who Ben Johnson was sponsored by, but I think it was either Adidas or Diadora. But supposedly there were some people that were in his camp that had some deep pockets. So
some under the table action.
I don't know if it was under the table or over the table, but there, depending on who tells the story, that was basically the case. It's that some folks that had either some influence and or some deep pockets.
Yeah.
So it sounds like none of that has changed over the years.
Yeah,
That's still all about the same.
What do you think about the current situation with what you then have to do if you're caught? Do you think it's justifiable, time-wise, that you're suspended? Or do you think it should be immediate expulsion from the sport?
Boy,
what are your thoughts?
Tough. That's a real tough question. It's like, I guess, 4 years, which
4 years, one cycle.
Yeah, that's one Olympic cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I get beat up on this from people who cover the big professional sports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
So why is it 4 years when Major League Baseball, depending 50, 100, or 160 games. It's like a drug suspension in the National Football League, 4 games. That's
4 games. Yeah,
4 games.
That's insane.
Now, and I don't know what it is in the NBA because I might be wrong on this, but the NBA could be part of WADA's drug testing, but I don't quote me on it. Yeah. But the one common denominator that all those sports have is that all those sports have strong unions.
Yeah.
And what does track and field have?
Right.
As far as a union, nothing. And I was just thinking about that because I know that Christian Taylor
wanted to
wants to start a union. Well, from track and field athletes. Well, hey, that's nothing new.
Yeah, that's been wanting to start.
I
since
actually,
the 80s.
At the 1980 Olympic trials in Eugene, I was, which was the first trials that I covered as a member of the media. I sat in a room in one of the dorms across the street from Hayward Field. There was a bunch of people. Craig Masbach, who is the former CEO of USA Track and Field, was one of the ringleaders. There's, I believe, I want to say Willie Banks was involved in this, and then there was a couple of other prominent athletes in that era. They were talking about the idea of starting a union way back in the 1980s. Well, I guess the problem, and I think people found out down the road with a professional track and field union is that what's good for so the problem with a track and field union is that what's good for a decathlete is not necessarily good for a road runner or
so much
a sprinter. I mean, there are so many different subsections in the sport that to get people to agree into a consensus is just pretty damn close to impossible. And if you're a triple jumper or the triple jump right now in the in the realm of popularity within the sport, it's down there. Right down with maybe I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging events. Women's hammer. Where does that in the realm of popularity within the sport? But man, until I think until that gets figured out, we're going to have a bunch of haves and have-nots
for sure.
in the sport. And I don't know if it'll take a generation, maybe 2. I don't know.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I understand the thought process there. I think it's definitely something that needs to be discussed, and it's tough to relate those events in terms of popularity to each other.
Because we talked about this earlier. There was no talk that he was going to be doing this until his event got cut.
Yeah, right.
As soon as somebody's event gets cut, then they're like, "Oh, we need to unionize because this."
As soon as it happens to you, it's not your problem.
But it's already happened to events. It happened to some throws. It happened to us. It's happened to other things. But once one of the big guys' events gets annoyed.
We'll look at it too from I would relate it to also from a professional football perspective. Yeah. There are positions, we could consider them like the events, that are more popular than others. Yep. Why does the quarterback get the most money dropped on him compared to
safety?
Compared to safety or compared to a D tackle?
They have the most safety as well.
Oh, they have the most safety as well. Yeah, and the left side left tackle, right? Yep. So that's one of those things as well. If they have unionized for their sport, understanding that there's going to be different pays between those, how come it can't be also like a base consensus for track and field, and then we can go over the particulars after that, right? Yeah. I wish the best of luck to Christian. I hope that there's some serious actual progress that happens with that, but
that's also entering a whole different piece of discussions with what they have to deal with.
Exactly right, and it has to be coming from a lot of the people who are the haves. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that my dad would talk about when we talked about this. Is like, why in the world would Carl Lewis, who gets paid $1 million at the time to show up to a meet, care to be involved with his time and energy into something that could benefit people that he has no idea who they are?
It may sound bad, but I can see that logic is why.
Exactly. Why? Exactly. Yeah. So that's what it's going to come down to. Yeah. It's going to come down to that sense of community and camaraderie in the sport, right?
Why? Because they're all making quite a bit of money on that line for the most part in the 100. Why?
Right.
But if it was our event, that's different. Because we all know that nobody's really getting that much money except for maybe Kevin and Damien.
Yeah. But if you... And it comes down to if he's an actual fan of track and field, maybe it does affect him.
And there's not that much camaraderie in the 100 and 200s.
Yeah,
it's just that kind of stuff.
It's like
there's so much testosterone.
And I guess from a TV standpoint, that's. That's
a storyteller.
The
story's great. It's over in 10 seconds.
Let's replay it 25 times.
That's great reality television.
Oh yeah,
it's like almost tell you how 100 is run on TV. You pan to the guys in the call room. You focus on the tension. Tension of guys' faces. Then you go, pull out. If you have a tape ready, you have it's like the build up. Then you bring them out, put them on the track. Boom, boom.
Now you talking about reality TV? I've got a reality TV idea right here. Are you ready for this?
What's that?
You mic up a whole decathlon. And you mic up the coaches, because that would be hysterical.
That would be great. I was just gonna say, and obviously we're biased in saying this, but that is if that is told in an appropriate way, that is a whole range of emotions and a whole range of heartache,
especially right before the 1500.
Oh, especially, But it's but if you want something that is just you talk about people in this, you talk about strengths and weaknesses, you get to see those progressions over an entire day. Right. Wonder what it's about to come back down to in the end. My decathlons that I've either won or come in second place from or made a team with, they all come down to seconds in the 1500. So it's
That's because you can run a good 1500.
But it's I'm always there. I'm like, not again. Yeah. When am I ever going to get to jog this thing?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. So, that's... Ooh, yeah.
Hit us up, Hulu. Netflix, you guys are doing some stupid TV shows.
Yeah.
We can get in on this.
It could be done. That'd be fun. I mean, Big Brother lasts...
There'd have to be a lot of bleeping.
70 weeks? Yeah.
Lots and lots of bleeping.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like... I'm sure people out in TV land and wondered, what do you guys do between events?
Yeah.
What happens?
What happens?
Okay, you run the 100, okay, and then get ready for the long jump.
Yeah.
What happens between that? You would, I assume you just get your tape out and measure your distance to the board.
Yeah.
You take your run throughs and then you go. But I guess a question that I'm sure the guys, folks out in TV land are going to ask is that what happens? It's like you run 100 and you absolutely sucked.
Yeah.
And
results are in.
What happened?
What is that? Yeah. What does that little powwow with the coach look like?
Yeah. What's the conversation with the coach? How do you?
The booklet is closed. If it's closed, it's like don't talk to him. Go to the next event.
Just keep moving. There's no hope.
How do you pull your head out of your tail and get ready to long jump?
If you look and he's not there, you got 9 events by yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's funny because in Glasgow this year, my granddad looked at me and he was like, does talking to your coach in between each jump actually help? Like, what do you guys actually talk about? It can't be anything like related to what you're doing. Like, can't be. I'm like,
that all important?
No, it's pretty important.
It's a game of centimeters here, Granddad.
Yeah. I need to go from this to this.
It's good. Yeah, good question there. Question, we were talking about this before you came. In terms of giving photographers, people who photograph athletes in action, what has that whole relationship been like? How and why do athletes give validation, give credit to, the people who have photographed them? How does that relationship work?
They make us
do
look
athletes
cool.
Pay? Yes, right. They do. Exactly. But what should, if I was just graduated college, had an awesome shot in my first, post-collegiate USA track and field. You took a picture of me in the long jump. I loved it. I wanted to post it. I want to share it to my site, my media.
Yeah.
How to go about doing that?
Well, I just basically contact the photographer directly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I don't know how much it depends on the photographer. If if a guy's in demand, like the Kirby Lees and the Victor Sailors and those guys of the world, they're gonna. I don't know how much they charge. It's like. I don't even know how much I...
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, obviously, if I have a good relationship with an athlete, I'll give it to them, or just give it to them, or just have a nominal charge, with the However, if you
sliding pay scale for how much money that athlete makes.
Yeah, that too.
It's good for us.
Also, now if I find out that your sponsor is using it, then
there's something.
Then we go into a different conversation. That's pretty much standard with every photographer. Some guys will be nice enough, they'll give it to you, or charge you like $20-25 or something nominal. But then the moment that you turn around and give it to your sponsors and they put it in one of their ads, then we're going to have a different conversation.
We know about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Because people don't understand how when you're at the meets, like there's so many photographers around. And it can't be easy because I mean I saw you and Doa. You had 2 cameras. Some people have like 20, and they're just
Not to mention all the timers they're thinking about that they put out earlier that they have to keep track of.
Yep. And then I know like Howard in London, he started experimenting with remote cameras.
Yeah, they have those around a lot now. They just leave them like in the shot ring, and then they just wander off. And they're like motion detect, so like in this, the second you start moving, it's start taking photos.
Well, generally, what they they're with a remote camera, they are in the general area. So they'll have something on top of a remote device on their handheld camera that triggers the remote.
Oh, that's cool.
So
they can basically get 2 photos at once. So
Yep.
One from there and then one from a different angle.
Yep, absolutely. And
It's interesting.
that's something I want to play with at some point.
At some point. Good. Awesome.
It's quite an investment with all those cameras because those are expensive cameras.
Oh yeah. I mean, just like I think the Nikon D5, which is which is what the majority of professional photographers that use Nikon use. I think that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000.
Yeah, and then you got the lenses, dude.
The lenses.
Have you ever looked how much lenses cost?
No,
dude, they're crazy.
No way.
Like,
Goodness gracious.
I think I at World Championships, I was fortunate enough, like all the major manufacturers, Canon, Nikon, and Sony, they had offices in the media room at World Championships, and as long as you were accredited, you could check out a camera.
Awesome. Oh, easy
for free.
Wow, that's nice.
That's a lot of trust. That's a lot.
How many cameras do you have? Don't worry about it. Just go like 20
belt.
I mean, it's like and then in those workrooms, they also had if you wanted, to have your personal camera cleaned or your lenses cleaned. They did it for you.
That's awesome. That's a really cool service. So it sounds like we need to go into this media thing because they treat them like royalty. That's awesome. No more athlete stuff. Why are we doing so much work?
That's sad. I mean, it's like at World Championships, I think I put in about 17, 18-hour days. That makes sense. They're
always there.
I mean, you go to the event. After the event is over,
you have the pool parties and
sorry,
you're going over film. I mean, planning for the next day.
You're taking you're taking your cards. You're looking at
dumping.
Dumping it into your computer. And then you're looking at it, see which ones work, which ones tell the story.
You guys go through it is crazy because I've seen somebody do it and they're just and they're going through like 20 photos a second. And they know exactly which ones are working. It's crazy.
Well, in Doha, I was actually working for Tracktown USA, the local organizing committee for this year's Olympic trials, and for Dalila Muhammad's photo of when she set the world record, and for Joe Kovacs, your buddy, when he won the gold, that was up on Tracktown USA's site within 5-10 minutes after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it just linked to your phone kind of thing, and then you
yeah.
can send it out?
What I did was, I had a basic iPhone card reader.
Yeah.
Plugged it into my phone. Took my card. Looked at it. Looked at the photos I took. Picked it out, and
have to act quickly.
Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, now, some of the big agencies, they had,
like Alameda,
they have, they've
fleets.
got, they'd have wired, they've got, they're hardwired.
Yeah.
There might be a photo editor, that's sitting behind a computer, like right behind the advertising.
I saw that.
Right.
Signboards, and what guys will do, they'll either plug their cameras or plug something into one of the hard wires, and that those photos are going to an editor.
No, that's exactly what I saw, because it was like right behind the TV cameras. It was just like a school of people just scrolling through photos, picking them out, quickly editing it, and sending it on its way. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of trust in this media world, because they were putting it on like the stands and stuff, like to get the right angles and things. And I'm like, anybody in this stadium could just walk by and whip that camera.
Yep.
And run away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's $6,000 plus lens.
Plus lens, yeah.
Yep. $6,000. Yeah.
I didn't say that on here because I may do that next time. I'm in desperate need of some
Gotta
cash.
pay for the pole somehow, right?
Exactly.
You see a long jump pit, or the shot ring, or the discus.
Yeah, the discus
Most
one is
distracting
annoying.
one ever.
Yeah.
Most distracting
So
ever.
annoying. Because you're like, okay, here we go. Last throw. Gotta get this in.
All silent.
Yeah, and,
Somewhere here.
and the guy,
Oh, shit.
the guy's triggering it. He's sitting maybe 50 meters behind, with his camera.
With his telescope.
Yep, and he's triggering the remote.
So we'll just say, after a bad shot throw, I'm just gonna steal the camera and run. It's over at this point. I'm gonna get something out of this.
Yeah, I mean, or like if you see a camera that's behind the shot circle or the discus ring, you just look at it.
You see them all like right before you come out. You see them all setting them up. So
Oh yeah. It's like
can you put it any closer to that circle?
at work, like a World Championships or an Olympics, you have to get to the stadium about an hour and a half before competition starts, and then like the photo manager for that event, will escort you.
Do they only have like a set number of people that they let out at a time?
Yeah, and it's primarily agencies.
So even if you're first in line, they'll let their buddy go
you
first.
basically, what World Athletics does, you have to sign up like the day before.
Cool, okay.
Now, that said, obviously, like
Some names get erased and some get
I mean, if Getty.
Yeah.
The Getty
They're
or
getting
the big agencies, they get first shot.
Yeah.
And I know that Getty is a business partner with World Athletics, so they're
going to be in every single one.
they'll get first shot. Wow. It's like if you notice at World Championships or any of the big events, you notice there's different colored bibs.
Yes.
Like if you have a certain, I think it was green, I believe. You had unlimited access to the infield. At World Championships, I had to sign up the day before to shoot events on the infield, and it's like I shot Kara Winger in the javelin, both in the qualifying and the finals, and then I shot one round of the men's shot put.
And then they cycled you out?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You only
so it wasn't like, oh, you can just kind of go in and, just yell about.
It's like, you get it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have the photo manager staring at you the whole time.
Wow. That's
fun.
So,
yeah.
Especially because if it was a final, that's done really quickly.
Yeah.
That's like 2 minutes and then you're out of there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Were you one of the first rounds in the shot put? That's the question. That's when they went off, wasn't it? The first and second round.
I can't remember. It was either round 2 or round 3.
Hopefully it was 2.
But it was like
right when they were going.
Yeah. But I'm thinking to myself, don't screw this up. I mean, there is no redo.
Yeah, right.
I'm screwed if I mess this one up.
Yep. Otherwise, it's like,
just mess up like 8th place. That doesn't matter.
I shot the rest. I shot most of the shot put from outside the advertising boards. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I had a long enough lens, and I was at the right angle,
Cool.
So at least I could get them, like when there's at the back of the circle.
Okay.
So it's like, so just in case you screw up, you at least know.
I have a little bit of a backup plan.
Yeah, you all there's always a plan B. As the great American philosopher George Peppard.
Everybody take note of that one. Always have a plan B. If you don't,
Yep.
don't mess up.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
So I mean that capturing Kovacs winning in the greatest shot put competition of all time. That was awesome.
It's awesome,
and
right?
I remember Joe on his victory lap, since I'm parked pretty much by the 100 start for most of the meet.
That's awesome.
I yell at Joe.
Wait, is that where you caught some of the shot put photos from? Because that was a long way away.
Yeah. The shot put photos, I was on the infield, but then, it's like,
When you got kicked out.
Yeah, once I got booted out of the infield, I shot it from there, but, I felt confident enough after I'd had my one round of throwing from the infield that, I didn't need it.
Yeah,
but, that shot, that shot of Kovacs, that was one of my better shots
awesome.
of the whole meet. And then when he was doing his victory lap, I yell at him, and it's like 30 seconds before I yelled at him, TJ Crater, who's the throws coach at Arizona, and who once worked with Kovacs at Penn State, he and I had been texting each other back and forth, and then I see Joe, and then I whip out my phone. I say, "Hey, TJ says congratulations."
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah.
Small world. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Very small world.
Yeah, he
and of
coached
course,
me as
it's
So
well.
you realize
Yeah.
that once you
Yeah.
get up there, you realize how small of a world the world of track and field actually
And
is.
everybody remember, you remember TJ when he coached here at UW.
Yep. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We are biased for the decathlon here.
Yep.
Curious,
Just a little bit.
just a little bit,
Just
Just a tiny bit.
just a little
Just
bit.
a little.
What are your thoughts right now on the decathlon, on Kevin Meyer, and what do you think about heptathlon, heptathletes right now as well, and potentially if we will ever transition to a female decathlon?
Man, you just hitting him with it.
Yeah.
He was not ready for that one.
It was like, I admit I didn't study up on my decathlon. I mean, I go back.
Yeah,
It's like
you go back.
Yeah. I just go back to Ashton Eaton.
Yeah.
Ashton Eaton, and then of course it was like Damian Warner, who I saw a couple of years ago, and he jumped in to the Jim Click meet in Tucson. So he.
You never know where that dude's going to
Yeah.
show up.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
be like, oh, look, today we're in Kentucky.
Yeah,
I was
right?
like, what the hell are you doing in
I went out
Kentucky?
to Geneva, Ohio in like 2015 before the USA Championships, and he was there running the hurdles. I'm like, we're in Geneva, Ohio. At this, I'm just like, all right, man.
Yeah.
He lives in the Great White North, They need to get out of
Yeah, I didn't
there.
travel that far, right?
But you're in Ohio, so it's not
like,
that
come
much
on,
better.
I don't know what to tell you about Kevin. I know that he's either going to do something great or something.
Or you don't know.
That's what we were saying the other day. Is
Very volatile, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
either
we
direction.
were talking about this the other days. We always know that Eaton was going to come up, score 87, 8,800 points, win the meet.
Sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be fine. As for we're like, Kevin, you're either going to get 89, 9K, or nothing.
Yeah.
Just depends.
For sure.
Yeah.
sure.
So, it's like, he got that world record, and then it's like, what happened to him in Doha? Or,
Injuries.
yeah.
What do you think about the female side for these heptathletes? What do you think is going to go down for Tokyo? Nafi, your fellow countrywoman.
Man, I'm going to play bias. We're going KJT all the way.
KJT.
And
No, I got to support her.
Yeah.
and a woman from Belgium.
Yeah.
She was, I think they're right now they're the class.
Yeah, it all comes on today too with them. They're 1 and 2.
Yeah, 2 and 1 depending on.
Yeah.
Do you think the heptathlon is actually a true display of how athletic these ladies are, or do you think you'd like to see them do the decathlon? Do you think it is
evolved?
Yeah. Do you think it should evolve, or do you think it will?
I think it will eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it's like I know that there are some people who are advocating for women's decathlon. Becca Gillespie Peter, polevaultpower.com.
Yep.
She's been one of the biggest advocates
Absolutely.
of the women's decathlon.
It's just going to be a generational thing, though. That's the issue. Is you can't just. It's got to be done now, but then at the youth level, so that way by the time it rolls around, you can then start phasing out the hep, start putting in the deck in the Olympics.
Absolutely.
But it's got to start now for the 8, 9, 10-year-olds because they've got to learn 2 new skills, being the pole vault and the discus.
Yeah.
So it's going to take it can't just be boom, this Olympics we're doing it, bye-bye heptathlon, because then that screws over everybody that's doing it.
Right.
Everybody in high school, college, and professional now would be screwed. But as for if you implement it into youth, and then each year that specific year goes up, then you start cutting it out kind of thing. I think that's the only possible way you could do it.
Cool. You know, it's funny. You remember? I remember watching Stacy Dragila in the pole vault and just being, the coolest thing happening. And then there's so much talk. It's like, is this going to take off? Are we going to even be, jumping that high? And then you have just like.
The answer is yes.
Yes. You see, they're the most explosive and exponentially growing competitive event in track and field. For the time length that has been around for women to do. So I'm looking at this decathlon here. I'm just like, I'm excited because I think it's going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah. But the only difference between those two events is you could just throw pole vault in one, right? Because they've been doing it. You just throw it into the Olympics, but you really they'd have to find a way to phase it. Mm-hmm. Which I think is what's scaring a lot of things, is how do you phase it into the working program? Because everybody that wants to do it is either older and they're like, well, now I don't get a shot at the Olympics because I want to do the decathlon over the heptathlon. But it's you knowingly chose to do the decathlon over the heptathlon, and you knew that it was never going to be put in there in the length of time that you would be competing because you're too old. Yeah. And it sounds really bad to say something like that, but that's the reality of it. Yeah, it's the reality of it. Like you can't beat a system that's been around that long. Mm-hmm. You have to slowly incorporate.
Yeah, I think realistically, I don't know if it'll be ready for Paris, maybe Los Angeles in 28.
2028 is probably the earliest you could do it.
Yeah.
Because that would be an 8-year growth for it, but that may still be really early. That one, I think, would be the first year that you could do both. You'd have to have both at the Olympics. Yeah. That's the issue. That's the issue you're going to run into, is having both at the Olympics, because they're not going to want two multis for one gender. They already hate us.
Yeah. Well, I get the impression that the IOC is starting to hate track and field. Because I know that they're if you've noticed,
let's make a multiple day track meet into 2 hours.
It's like they can you're now that they've implemented the standards, the Olympic standards, and then of course I think track and field, I believe, is losing
15-20% of usually its amount of numbers. That's crazy.
Well, I feel like because now they're implementing the world ranking system, nobody knows what the hell is going on with it because it's so just all over the place. Yeah. As for before, you could be like, this is the standard they need to hit. Now, if you're watching the Olympic trials, you're like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Yeah. Especially when it becomes a time when they're like, okay, we're not doing a standard anymore. It's all done off of world ranking points. And it's like, what's the point of having trials at that point? If it's all done off world ranking points, then somebody that does have the standard that's going to be ranked 8th in the U.S. may win it because that's the U.S. trials. Yeah.
This is how.
What's the point?
This is how archery, badminton, table tennis. There's a lot of sports like that do that ranking system, and it's confusing every time they try to explain it to me.
But that one is a little bit more acceptable, I feel like, than I feel like we have 8 people lining up at once. Table tennis, you can do a tournament, and then you'd come down to 1, 2, and 3. Seriously. You could do it that way, but we're having 8 people line up for a final.
True.
And then at that point,
but you also have rounds. You have 24 entries into the meet, and I don't see tournaments for tennis and things going beyond that unless it's like Grand Slams. You have a lot of entries.
Yeah. But then there's going to be no dark horse going to be able to go into the Olympics, because we've seen it in the U.S. trials. Some dark horse makes it to the Olympics, and whoop-de-doo, he wins bronze or silver. Yeah. You take away that chance. Like, what is... If I'm ranked 24th in the U.S., there's still that slight possibility I may make a final. I may... Who knows? At the final, you may squeak in. But now they have no opportunity to even come close to making the team. So it's just like, why should I try?
That's true.
So then there's going to go a revenue.
The U.S. is very like one. There's very few countries that do it just how we do it, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We do it for, I don't even know the actual reasons, right? We just have so much depth, or we just feel like we want people performing right when we want it to happen. So I do think we do cut away from people who are consistent performers, and we've seen some of the best not make teams, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, so I think what it is. I still think a good way of doing it is how the UK does it, where they do top 2 at trials and then they have a selection process. So that way, if somebody it's Tyson Gay or Usain Bolt or something false starts, they could still slide in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That way, you're not missing your number 1 chance. But then again, we saw it with Kenny Harrison in 2016. Yeah. She was the fastest woman.
Yep.
Fastest woman ever. Then raced the Olympics, but they still swept it. So,
but then she breaks the world record.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it sucks for her, but it didn't harm the U.S.
Right. It didn't harm the U.S.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's the way the U.S. thinks. They're like, at the end of the day, we have so much depth in this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It hurts the athlete, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt USATF, which that's what they're all about.
USATF.
Yeah.
Yes, they know everything. That's right. Sorry.
You can't. Jeremy is not commenting on this.
No comment.
Yeah, especially with
what's coming up in the future. You just stay quiet here.
Yeah. Especially we've got a UW alum that's in the upper management at USATF.
Yeah. So, well, this has been an awesome time. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
It's been super fun. You blew me away with some of these stories. I did not know. It was too fun.
I think
and I feel like we're just starting to get scratch the surface of his knowledge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll come back. I'll be happy to come back.
Cool. Yeah,
for sure.
We could do an indoor wrap up or a mid kind of like see where standings are and stuff because NC's indoors is gonna be pretty awesome. So it'll be fun to figure out what goes on.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for the next one. It'll be out probably in a week or so after this. Depending on when. I blame Jeremy for it all, depending on when he wants to get up.
Once again, thank you, Paul Merca, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. What's that Instagram handle one more time for us?
At Paul Merca 70601. That's
you gotta cut that down.
70601.
Yep. Awesome. That's across also.
Including MySpace.
Yeah.
Yep.
All platforms.
All social media platforms. Yes, I do have a verified Twitter account.
Yes.
And then I feel out of place in this.
And then you can also catch him at paulmerca.blogspot.com.
Yep.
See you guys.